My name is Gloria, and I'm 33 years old. I live in the city, but 2 years ago I bought this amazing little country house by the lake. It wasn't exactly cheap, but I'd been saving up for years and finally made it happen. The house sits right on the water with this gorgeous view, and I fell in love with it the moment I saw it. When I first bought the place, I had this whole business plan worked out. The lake gets tons of tourists during the summer, and I figured I could rent it out to vacationers and make some decent money. You know, help pay off the mortgage and maybe even turn a profit. I'd researched the rental market and everything looked promising. But then my family found out about my plans, and boy, did they have opinions about it. My parents, Mom and Dad, they're in their early 60s now. Dad worked construction his whole life until his back started giving him problems, and Mom was a school secretary before she retired. They live about an hour away from me in the suburbs. Then there's my older sister Nancy. She's 36, married to this guy Rick, and they have 2 kids, Emma who's 8 and little Jake who's 5. Nancy works part-time at a dental office, and Rick does something with computers. The weekend after I told them about the house, they all came over to my apartment for dinner. I was so excited to show them pictures and talk about my investment plans. Big mistake. Gloria, honey, you can't seriously be thinking about renting that beautiful house to strangers, Mom said, shaking her head. Do you have any idea what tourists are like? They don't care about your property. Dad nodded along. Your mother's right. These people will trash the place. They'll probably break things, leave messes everywhere, maybe even burn it down. I've seen it happen. Come on, Dad, that's a little dramatic, I said, trying to keep things light. I'd screen renters carefully and have a security deposit. Security deposit won't bring back your house if it catches fire, he shot back. Nancy jumped in then. Besides, think about family first. Rick and I have been talking about how the kids never get to experience nature. They're always stuck in the city, playing video games. A lake house would be perfect for them. And your father and I aren't getting any younger, Mom added. We could really use a quiet place to get away from everything sometimes. You know how stressful city life can be for us old folks. I felt myself getting cornered, but guys, this is supposed to be an investment. I need the rental income to help with the mortgage payments. Money isn't everything, Gloria, Mom said, giving me that look she used to give me when I was a kid and did something she didn't approve of. Family should come first. We'd take such good care of the house. Much better than strangers would. They kept at it for another hour. Mom talked about how she could use the house for family gatherings, how it would bring everyone closer together. Nancy painted this picture of her kids building memories at the lake, learning to fish and swim. Dad kept going on about how tourists would probably steal things or damage the property. By the end of the evening, I felt like the worst daughter and sister in the world for even considering strangers over family. They made it sound like I was choosing money over the people I loved most. Okay, I finally said, you guys are right, family comes first. Mom practically beamed, oh honey, that's wonderful. You're making the right choice. I'll make copies of the spare keys for all of you, I continued. But we need to set up some kind of schedule so we don't all show up at the same time. Within a week, I'd given out 3 sets of keys, one to my parents, one to Nancy, and I kept one for myself. At first, everything seemed to work out fine. Mom and Dad would go up there for quiet weekends, usually bringing books and doing crossword puzzles on the deck. Nancy's family would take the kids fishing and swimming. I'd join them sometimes, and we'd have nice family barbecues. Sure, there were little issues here and there. Sometimes I'd arrive to find dishes in the sink or trash that hadn't been taken out. Once I found sand tracked all through the house from the beach. Nancy's kids would leave toys scattered around, and a few times I found juice boxes and snack wrappers stuffed between couch cushions. But whenever I'd mention it, everyone would apologize immediately. Oh my God, Gloria, I'm so sorry, Nancy would say. The kids were so tired after swimming, and I just forgot to do a final check. I promise I'll be more careful next time. Mom would always sound mortified. Honey, your father and I were in such a rush to beat the traffic that we completely forgot about the dishes. We'll make sure to clean up properly from now on. They seemed genuinely sorry, so I'd just clean up whatever they'd missed and let it go. I didn't want to be that person who made a big deal about every little thing. After all, it was supposed to be a family retreat, not a hotel with strict rules. For about a year and a half, this arrangement worked okay. I'd sometimes have to do extra cleaning when I arrived, but I told myself it was worth it to see my family enjoying the place. The kids were getting tan and learning to swim, my parents seemed more relaxed, and Nancy and Rick were getting some couple time while the kids played outside. But then everything changed. I had just gotten a week off work in late spring, and I was really looking forward to spending some time at the lake house. I'd been working crazy hours on this big project, and I couldn't wait to just relax by the water with a few friends. I called my parents on Tuesday to let them know I'd be using the house that weekend. Hey Mom, just wanted to give you a heads up that I'll be at the lake house this weekend through next Sunday. I'm taking some vacation days. There was this pause, and then Mom's voice got all tight. This weekend? Gloria, that's not going to work. Nancy already made plans. She and Rick are bringing the kids up there, and Rick's parents are coming too. Mom, I'm telling you about my plans now. I bought this house, I pay the mortgage, and I should be able to use it whenever I want. You're being unreasonable. Nancy's family needs this break. You're putting your own wants above your family's needs. Her voice got really sharp. You know what, Gloria? I can't talk to you when you're being this selfish. And then she hung up on me. Just like that. I stared at my phone for a minute, trying to process what had just happened. My own mother had called me selfish for wanting to use the house I owned and paid for. I called Nancy right away. Nancy, did you know I wanted to use the lake house this weekend? Yeah, Mom told me. Look, Gloria, we really need this weekend. Rick's parents are coming. But I already made plans with my friends. I told them we could spend the week there. God, Gloria, you're being so difficult about this. We're family should come first. Family does come first, which is why I've been letting you all use my house for free instead of renting it out. But that doesn't mean I can never use it myself. Nancy got quiet for a second, then her voice got cold. Fine. But don't expect us to be happy about this. She hung up too. I sat there thinking about how crazy this whole situation was. Here I was, getting grief from my own family for wanting to use the house I bought and paid for. But I wasn't backing down. I called my friends Sarah and Mike and confirmed our plans. We had an amazing week at the lake. We grilled out every night, took the kayaks out on the water, and just relaxed. It was exactly what I needed. I figured the whole thing would blow over. Nancy and my parents would get over being mad, and things would go back to normal. Boy, was I wrong. After that weekend, the communication from my family pretty much stopped. Nancy didn't call me for weeks. When I called my parents, the conversations were short and awkward. I started to realize that my family was freezing me out because I'd had the nerve to use my own house when they wanted it. Months went by like this. They kept using the lake house, but they barely spoke to me. Family dinners became these tense affairs where everyone was polite but distant. Then Mother's Day was coming up. I thought maybe this would be a good opportunity to patch things up. I called Mom a couple days before. Hi Mom, I wanted to let you know I'll be coming over on Sunday to bring you your Mother's Day gift. Oh, honey, that's sweet of you, but you don't need to come over. Your father and I are both feeling pretty sick. I've been having terrible headaches and my blood pressure is through the roof. And your father caught this awful cold. Oh no, I'm sorry to hear that. Is there anything I can do? No, we just need to rest. I actually had to cancel the family dinner I was planning. Nancy and Rick aren't coming either, and I told your aunt and uncle not to come. We're all just going to stay home and recover. Are you sure? I could just drop off your gift and leave quickly. No, honey, I don't want you catching whatever your father has. Just send the gift with a courier service or something. So that's what I did. I sent Mom a beautiful flower arrangement and a nice card through a delivery service. I figured I'd see her the following weekend when she was feeling better. But then a couple of days after Mother's Day, I was scrolling through Facebook when I saw something that made my blood run cold. My aunt had posted photos from Mother's Day, and I recognized the location immediately. These photos were taken in my lake house. I couldn't have been mistaken, I knew every corner of that place. Under the photos was Nancy's comment, "This year we celebrated Mother's Day in a close family circle, and I was pleased to spend this day among the people I loved most in the world." I stared at my phone, completely shocked. My parents and sister had simply cut me out of their family. In the photos, my parents looked completely healthy, no sign of the terrible illness Mom had claimed they had just 2 days earlier. She had flat out lied to me. I immediately called my parents, my hands shaking with anger. "What the hell is this about? Why did you celebrate Mother's Day without me, but at my country house?" Mom's voice got defensive. "Oh honey, your father and I thought that you would have a lot of work, that you wouldn't be able to attend this party. We simply didn't want to bother you, especially since you never liked noisy companies." "Don't lie to me, Mom, you told me you were sick. You could have invited me, and I would have made time for my family." Then Nancy picked up the phone. "Look, Gloria, neither I nor Mom and Dad wanted to see you at this party. You always go to parties with a sour face, and you always controlled us in your country house. You never let us have fun properly and didn't allow the kids to touch many things. You forbade them to run and jump around the house. We had a very good rest this time, and this holiday was much better without you." And then she hung up. I sat there staring at my phone, my heart pounding. At that moment, I realized that this weekend my relatives had most likely staged a real pogrom in my house. If they felt that free to exclude me and celebrate there without permission, what else had they done? I got up early the next morning and drove straight to the lake house. My hands were gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles were white. Part of me hoped I was overreacting, that maybe they'd just had a normal family dinner and left everything clean like they used to. But deep down, I knew better. The way Nancy had talked about letting the kids run wild, about how they'd had such a good time without me there to control them, it all pointed to something bad. When I pulled up to the house, everything looked normal from the outside. The yard was clean, no trash scattered around. For a second, I thought maybe I'd been wrong. Maybe they'd been respectful after all. I unlocked the front door and stepped inside. At first glance, the living room looked tidy. But something felt off. Then I noticed that all the furniture was covered with heavy winter blankets, the thick wool ones we only used during cold months. Why would they cover everything with blankets in May? My stomach dropped as I walked over to the couch and pulled off the blanket. Underneath was a disaster. The cream-colored upholstery was covered in huge greasy stains, dark spots that looked like they'd never come out. There were mysterious brown smears on the armrests, and when I looked closer, I saw that something sharp had actually cut through the fabric in several places. "Oh my God," I whispered, pulling the blanket off the matching armchair. Same thing, stains everywhere and cuts in the fabric. Every piece of upholstered furniture in the room was destroyed. I looked around frantically and realized my favorite Persian rug was missing from the floor. I found it rolled up in the corner behind the TV stand. When I unrolled it, I gasped. The beautiful cream and burgundy pattern was covered in bright red stains. Wine, ketchup, maybe both, I couldn't tell. The rug was completely ruined. My legs felt shaky as I walked into the kitchen. The white cabinets were splattered with stains I couldn't identify, orange, brown, sticky-looking stuff that had dripped down the cabinet doors. The countertop had newspapers spread across one section, and when I lifted them, there was a huge burned spot in the granite, like someone had put a hot pan directly on it. I climbed the stairs to the second floor, dreading what I might find. In the main bedroom, my antique writing desk, the one made from rare cherry wood that had belonged to my great-grandfather, was completely destroyed. One of the legs was broken off, and the top was split down the middle. Papers and pens were scattered everywhere. The guest bedroom was even worse. The antique mirror that had hung above the dresser for decades was shattered, pieces of glass still scattered on the floor. Someone had tried to sweep it up but had done a terrible job. I sat down on the bed and just stared at the destruction. This wasn't accidental damage from kids playing. This was deliberate. They'd let the children run completely wild, and nobody had stopped them. Maybe they'd even encouraged it. I pulled out my phone and started taking pictures of everything. The ruined furniture, the stained carpets, the broken antiques. I documented every single thing I could find. My hands were shaking so badly I had to retake some of the photos. When I was done, I called a professional cleaning service and asked them to come out and give me an estimate. Then I called a furniture repair company. Both teams came out that afternoon. The cleaning specialist, an older woman named Janet, walked through the house shaking her head. "Honey, I've been doing this for 20 years, and I've never seen anything like this. Most of these stains are set in permanently. That rug is a total loss." The furniture guy, Tom, was equally grim. "The upholstery is completely shot. You're looking at full reupholstering on all these pieces. And this antique desk?" He shook his head. "The wood is split beyond repair. You'd need a complete restoration, and even then, it would never be the same." "Just give me a number," I said. "How much to fix everything?" Janet and Tom exchanged glances. "For the cleaning, furniture repair, and replacement of what can't be fixed, you're looking at about $15,000, Tom said. I sat in my car after they left and just cried. Not just because of the money or the ruined furniture, but because of what this meant. My family had deliberately excluded me, lied to me, and then destroyed my property. They'd shown me exactly how much respect they had for me and my things. That evening, I uploaded all the photos to our family group chat. I didn't write anything, just sent picture after picture of the damage. Then I called my parents. "You owe me $15,000 for what you did to my house," I said as soon as Mom picked up. She started screaming so loud I had to hold the phone away from my ear. "We're not paying you anything. It was a family vacation. The children just played a little in the house. You cannot demand money from your own parents. The children destroyed thousands of dollars worth of furniture and antiques. You're responsible for the damage. You won't get a cent from us," she yelled and hung up. A few minutes later, Nancy called. "Gloria, neither I nor Mom and Dad are paying for repairs. It's not our house, it's yours, so you should do the repairs yourself." "Nancy, your kids destroyed my great-grandfather's desk. They ruined furniture that's been in our family for generations. Don't be so dramatic, it was just a party, kids will be kids." And then she hung up too. I sat there in the quiet house, surrounded by the wreckage of what had once been my peaceful retreat. My family had made their position clear. They felt entitled to use my house however they wanted, and they had no intention of taking responsibility for the damage they'd caused. But I wasn't going to let them get away with it. If they wanted to play hardball, I could play hardball too. I opened my banking app and found the automatic transfer I'd set up months ago. Every month, I sent my parents $1,400 to help them with their mortgage payments. It was my way of helping them out in their retirement, making sure they could keep their house. I canceled the automatic transfer and took a screenshot of the cancellation. Then I sent the screenshot to my mom with a simple message: "Since you won't pay for the damage, I'll use this money to cover the repairs instead." My phone rang immediately. "Gloria, how could you do this to us?" Mom was practically screaming into the phone, "These things have nothing to do with each other. You're trying to punish us, and it's not fair." "Actually, Mom, they have everything to do with each other. You destroyed my property and refused to pay for it. So I'll use the money I was giving you to fix the damage instead. You can't treat us so cruelly. It will be difficult for us to pay the mortgage ourselves. We could lose our home. Well, if I have to renovate the country house at my own expense, I'll definitely never sponsor you again. And from this moment on, you should forever forget that you had the opportunity to use my house." I hung up and turned my phone to silent. Within minutes, text messages started flooding in from my parents and Nancy. Then came the voice messages, long, rambling guilt trips about how I was destroying the family, how I was being vindictive and cruel. I ignored every single one. After a few hours of nonstop buzzing, I blocked all their phone numbers. A couple of days later, I drove back to the lake house to meet with the repair crews. The repairs took about a week. When everything was finally done, the house looked beautiful again, but it would never feel the same. Every time I looked at the new upholstery or the replacement furniture, I'd remember what my family had done. While the cleaning crew and furniture people did their work, I called a locksmith and had all the locks changed. Then I contacted a security company and had them install a full video surveillance system, cameras covering every angle of the house, inside and out. I wanted to make sure I'd know if anyone tried to get in. After all the repairs were complete and the security system was installed, I wrote a note for my family. I printed it out in bold letters: "House closed to strangers, charity is over." I put it in a clear plastic sleeve to protect it from rain and hung it on the front door before I left. About a week later, I was sitting at home watching TV when I decided to check the security footage on my phone. The app let me scroll through the recordings from the past few days. That's when I saw Nancy's car pulling up to the house on Saturday morning. I watched as she, Rick, and the kids got out and started unloading bags and coolers from the trunk, acting like nothing had happened. They walked up to the front door, and I could see Nancy's face when she noticed my sign. She read it, looked around like she couldn't believe it, then ripped the paper off the door and crumpled it up. I watched her try her key in the lock, then try it again when it didn't work. She handed the key to Rick, and he tried it too. They both looked confused and frustrated. After about 30 minutes of trying different things, they finally gave up, loaded everything back into the car, and left. I couldn't help but smile. The message was finally getting through. But apparently Nancy told other family members what happened, because my phone started ringing from familiar numbers. First, my Aunt Linda called. "Gloria, you can't do this to your family," she said. "This house has become a vacation home for all of us. We're already used to relaxing and partying here. We've made plans for this summer." I listened to her guilt trip me for a few minutes, then hung up and blocked her number. Then my Uncle Bob called. "You need to give Nancy and your parents their keys back," he demanded. "Family is family. You can't just cut everyone off like this." I hung up on him too and blocked his number. Next was my cousin Sarah. "We've been planning our annual family reunion there for months," she said. "You're being completely unreasonable." One by one, they all called, other aunts, uncles, cousins who had also sometimes stayed at my house. Each one felt entitled to lecture me about family loyalty and tried to shame me into giving everyone access again. I blocked every single one of them. I was done being the family doormat. The calls kept coming for weeks from different relatives, but I blocked each number as they called. It was amazing how many people felt entitled to use my property just because they were related to me. A year passed. With the money I used to send my parents for their mortgage, I was able to pay off all the repair costs within a few months. And then I did exactly what I'd originally planned to do with the house. I hired a property management company that specialized in vacation rentals. They handled everything: advertising, bookings, cleaning between guests, maintenance issues. The house was booked solid all summer long, and I was finally making the income I'd planned on when I first bought the place. On weekends when there weren't any renters, I'd go up there myself and enjoy the peace and quiet. It was strange how much more relaxing the house felt now that I didn't have to worry about my family showing up unannounced or leaving messes for me to clean up. My parents tried to contact me several times over the year. They'd call from other people's phones, hoping I wouldn't recognize the number. When I'd answer, Mom would immediately start talking about reconciliation. But every time they called, it was the same thing. They wanted to reconcile, but they never once apologized for what they'd done. They never acknowledged that they'd lied to me, excluded me from Mother's Day, or destroyed my property. They acted like I was the one being unreasonable for staying angry. "I'm not ready to communicate with you yet," I'd tell them each time before hanging up. Nancy never called directly, but I heard through other relatives that she and Rick were struggling to find affordable vacation spots for their family. Apparently, the lake house had become such a regular part of their summer routine that they'd never bothered to plan alternatives. My parents were managing to keep up with their mortgage payments, but I heard they'd had to cut back on a lot of other things. They'd always lived beyond their means, counting on my monthly help to make ends meet. Sometimes I felt a little guilty about cutting them off financially. But then I'd remember the $15,000 in damage they'd caused, the lies they'd told, and the way they'd deliberately excluded me from family events. I'd remember Nancy saying the holiday was much better without me. As I sat on my deck one evening, watching the sunset over the lake, I realized that my life was actually much better now too. I didn't have to worry about cleaning up after other people or walking on eggshells to avoid family drama. I didn't have to subsidize anyone else's lifestyle or let people use my things without appreciation. The house was mine again, truly mine. And for the first time since I'd bought it, that felt exactly right.